She's what, quintuple threat? I mean, more than that. Yes, she started as a dancer, you know, in plays, and has transitioned to acting, TV, films, now directing. So I've known her for now over 20 years, and saw her short film, Shangri-La Cafe, which she did at AFI. And we've just seen each other around so much. She did a reading of a play that I directed. She played Yuri Kochiyama in this play. So, I mean, I've always just loved to work, and loved the idea that she was wanting to be a director, because we need more minority directors and more women directing. She called me or emailed me about 4 or 5 years ago, saying, I'm working on my feature, I want to pick your brain about production issues. And she mentioned also that she had me in mind for the role of this father. But I was happy to meet with her and talk with her, and I really didn't have much to offer. I mean, she had all of her ducks lined up in a row and knew what she was doing and was really smart. And the script was, it was very dark. It was very bold. It was almost too edgy, I thought, when I first read it. But I mean, I didn't critique the script so much, because she was more asking about production issues. But later on, she sent me another version. She had been working on it another year later, and it had really improved quite a bit. And although I still didn't necessarily think it was going to be produced, and then I heard, actually through East West Players, that she was casting the young daughters, 2 Hapateen girls, for her film that was going to be filming next month. This is like, you know, beginning of, I guess it was 2011? So I put something on Facebook about that, and then she emailed me right back, kind of apologetic, saying, oh yeah, I meant to tell you, I got my money and we're shooting next month. And she was waiting she still wanted me to be the father, and she was waiting to kind of confirm, because she was trying to firm up all the cast. Some clips that Eric Byler put up of American Knees, which, I mean, when that film was made, American Knees, I was hoping it would open a lot of doors, because it was the first lead role I had in a feature film, and it was a great showcase piece for me, if nothing else. I mean, it was many other things, but that requires that it gets released, or that at least people see it. Well, luckily, Eric put up clips, and people have seen those clips, and there was a particular clip that Lily said sort of, you know, clinched it for her. To have it be a friend's piece, and to have it be what I felt like was a great role, because it had so much depth, and things that I could relate to in different ways, and is a great character in the story. It's interesting because I'm not a father, and I'm not an alcoholic, but I could relate to a lot of those things through you know, other family that I have and that I've known, and people that I've known, especially the battle with alcoholism. And I mean, you know, everyone has their demons that they fight. And then a big part of the character is that he is Sansei. He's dealing with a mother who was in camp, Nisei Mom. And I've had a lot of discussions with friends about, you know, what that means to be Sansei, what it means for our generation, that so many of us haven't talked about it. I'm fortunate because, and I think it's because I'm in theater a lot, and I've done shows about camp, and you write and done films about it, and you research it, and you talk to people. And so for us, for artists, I think more, that has been explored. But for the majority of, I think, Japanese Americans, you know, it's something that it really was not talked about. And also for a lot of Nisei, it wasn't something they would talk about. My parents would talk about it. I think because they were a little bit younger, so they didn't harbor as much anger. But I know for so many people, it's either, you know, their parents passed and they never got to ask them these questions, or when they did ask, they refused to talk, or they got angry, or so. It's still a big issue, and the idea that Lily has of, well, how does that affect the next generation is really important, I think, significant. So those things just made it it was such a rewarding experience, you know, to be able to play that. Little Tokyo Reporter is a wonderful narrative short film that I'm really excited to be a part of. It's right now in post-production. We filmed it over about a week last year, and it's been edited, and now it's getting scored with visual effects. It's about a real-life Issei pioneer. His name was Sei Fuji, and he was very active in the Japanese American community in Southern California in the 20s and 30s all the way up through the 50s. And I knew nothing of him. In fact, I had not heard of him until the filmmaker, Jeffrey G. Shin, came to me and said, I'm making this film that I want you to be in. And it's amazing, you know, how many stories we don't know about, but a person of this significance. No, actually it was the Little Tokyo Historical Society did a project about the Japanese hospital, which was founded, I believe, in 1929, for the local Japanese community to get medical needs fulfilled because of either language differences, cultural differences, dietary, all these needs that Japanese needed specifically, and they weren't getting from, you know, just regular hospitals. So Seifuji was part of the original founders of the Japanese hospital, and pretty much everyone in Southern California has family that was there at some point. It's in East LA, which was where a large Japanese American community was. Seifuji founded the Kashin Mainichi, which was a Japanese, a bilingual Japanese California daily news. It's now no longer around, but was a fairly large publication in Southern California as a means of bringing the community together and of helping them, keeping them informed. He also was the individual that sued the state of California in, I think it was 1952, to overturn the alien land law, which prohibited the Issei, or Japanese immigrants who could not become citizens, from owning land. And he won. So, I mean, and that, you know, opened the door to eventually, you know, eventually winning citizenship for Japanese immigrants. And so, I mean, and there's all these things that he did in between. So, to learn all this, and to learn, you know, that there was this one man who did so much, and that I had never heard of him, you know, was just, again, a great need to tell this story. So Jeffrey came to me. I met him several times at some different film festivals, and he said, well, yeah, I have this story that I wrote, and I want you to be in it. And so I immediately said, yes, I'd love to do that. And I've been kind of consulting with him a lot, because it's his first large narrative work. It's very ambitious. It's going to be about somewhere around half an hour. But it's a period piece. It's set in 1935 in Little Tokyo. So to recreate that era, you know, to tell a very good dramatic story, even though it's got all this great history in it, you still want a good story. It's basically about Fuji as a newspaper editor in the mid-30s and kind of confronting those challenges about, do you write about negative things about your own community? If you think in the long run it'll help, but if it either makes your community look bad or makes individuals look bad, you know. And in fact, somebody tried to assassinate Seifuji, and he was kind of discovered lying in the street with a gunshot wound, and was sent to the Japanese hospital, you know. And of course he didn't die, but I mean that's how controversial he was, you know, and these kinds of things happened. This is back in the 30s. So, in this particular the narrative that we're telling, you know, he discovers a gambling den in Little Tokyo, and how it's sort of swindling the local farmers, or farmers that would come into town to drink and gamble, and just the club would take their money, and a little bit of extortion, different things like that. Kind of the darker, seedy side of Little Tokyo that people don't want to talk about, or didn't talk about. And we met a lot of Issei, or no, it's no longer Issei around, but Nisei that knew Issei, that went to these, their dad used to go to these gambling places, and none of them still would talk about it. And like, yeah, I heard this or that about it, but you know, it's kind of interesting. So that's what the film is about. It's supposed to be finished, you know, this fall, end of summer or the fall.